trying to get the top bushing out. Now these are usually made of one piece of bronze, so it actually folds around, and you can just see the line there where it kind of meets there. So what I do is I get my chisel, it's a roofing chisel, it's awful handy. I put it behind just where that line is, and I get it to fold inwards, and then it weakens and I tap it up from below then, and it comes out. So that's the plan, that's the way it usually works out, but you can really see the wear on this. The dark area is where it was worn, and what happens with the kingpin is it starts rattling in and out, and it puts a lot of pressure on the wheel bearings. So that's why it's always worth, when you're going to do wheel bearings, to do these kingpins and bushings. That is the bushing out of the top. So now I can go ahead now and clean out this. I'll get a wire brush on the drill, the right diameter, and I'll run it up and down there, and I'll do the same from the bottom, and we'll have that nice and clean then for the new bushings. The new bushings are going to be pulled in with a length of threaded rod. What I like to do then is I put on a kind of a fairly fine sandpaper head on the Dremel, and I've cleaned this out with these they're kind of grease, they clean grease and oil and all that kind of off tools or anything like, so I give them a good scrub out of that. They're brilliant, and polish surface enough, because you want the bushing to go in as easy as possible. You don't want it to get dragging along or creasing or bending or anything like that. So this is a well used piece of sandpaper, so it's not very coarse. I'm just going to polish that up, and I'll put down a bit of oil as well when I'm fitting the bushing. And I'm going to pull the bushing in rather than tap it in. So that's just going to polish things up in there a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll tear a bit of that off and give it a clean, and we'll get a look in and see. See how things are looking in there. Just looking for it to be fairly shiny, so that it'll slide in all the easier. Less chance then of damage and anything. Yeah, so it's shining up there slowly. So I'll keep going and do a bit more of that, and do the same with the bottom as well. Another job I can do is take out this grease nipple. So we're going to want this cleaned out and functional for greasing up. So it looks like it was working. Not too distant future past. These have a little ball in the end of them and a spring behind them, so you just make sure that you can push in there with your pick, and that's after moving there, so we can test it then with the grease gun. I'm just sort of filling this with grease, so it's probably airlocked, but I'll get it going. So that's that held in there, and now I'll give it a pump and see what comes out. There we go there. So it's definitely working, so I can put that back in. That's all I wanted to see, was that it was working. And that'll mean I can fill this half axle full of grease. Now, grease will keep all the water out, especially when I put the new seal up on top there. Now, ideal. So we're getting places here, slowly but surely. I know there's a lot of grease and dirt on this, but I'll be able to clean all that off. I'm not worried about that. I'll do that at the end when it's all put back together. So that's one stub axle, or one half axle I think they're called, ready for new parts. This is the truss bearing that came off the bottom of the kingpin, and the truss bearing is a bearing that's designed to take weight. So the kingpin has a wider bit underneath and it sits against that, and it goes up in under there, and it goes on the kingpin down there. So as I said, it's designed to take weight, and it's designed obviously to turn free. So when you turn your steering wheel, the kingpin turns, but this is completely and utterly dead. The ball bearings in there are so worn that the top of it has actually sheared off, and there's no bearing, we'll say, surface there really anymore. The balls are completely and utterly disintegrated. So yeah, I have a new one of them, 2 new ones of them ordered, so that is no longer serviceable at all. I said I'd show you just to show, I suppose, how worn these parts get. Again, no fault of their own. It's just, to be honest with you, it's just use. It's just a serviceable part. So I'm looking forward to fitting new ones when I see the state of the old ones and the difference it's going to make. I have these straighter track rod arms, radius arms, whatever you want to call them, and it's the ones that are on the track are very bent, and I know for a fact if you try and straighten them, you'll never do it. You'll never straighten them. These are a little bit bent. It'll be a lot easier to get these straightened than the ones that are on it. They're just too far gone. When they get too bowed, it's very, very hard to hold them straight, to get the bow perfectly straight so that you can press it down and get it to straighten out. It keeps twisting and all that. Like, it's a bit dangerous then when there's pressure, involved and all that. So I'll be able to straighten these up because there's a lot less of a bow in them, and they're fairly strong metal. I broke a vise before trying to take old track rod ends out. I broke it in 2 basically. So I've left these soaking in the parts washer there, and I'm hoping they're going to come a little bit easier. Yeah. Now I have seen these fight me the whole way out before, but this one's actually going fairly well, and because I'm replacing these and I'm going to be putting new track rod ends on them, I have a reference point. I can refer to the length of the ones that are on the tractor to get the tracking half right, and then I can fine tune it. But I'm very happy that these have come off so handy. I'm trying to work out where these original, they look like they are. The original ones were always very neat, very kind of small, and they had grease nickel in them. The original ones did look to be this kind of a shape anyway in any pictures I've seen. The parts washer is great because you can use that brush to kind of scrub away the dirt and get there's a mix of diesel and kerosene in it there, and it's ideal. And because the pump just recirculates it, it's not as if you're wasting it like you would be if you were just filling the tub of diesel and kerosene for soaking things. Well, it's a bit of a fire hazard, number one, having it around the shed and leaving it there the whole time. But I'm delighted now this one's come out. I know I have 4 more to get out, but this is a good sign. So it means what I can do is I can clean up this, and then I can fit the front track rod end onto this arm after I've straightened it out a bit. So I'm delighted with that. So that's mighty work. The second one here, when they have the nut on them, I just screw it on and I use this. So I managed to get this one going as well. So this track rod is going to be hopefully usable. Still not out of the woods yet. Maybe that's tightening, is it? You have to figure out which way is loosen and tighten, because there's opposite threads on one side. So that's coming up nice and free. This was an aftermarket one, but one I took out I think was original. This is the steering box end. They usually wear quicker than the end at the front axle for some reason. The original one was that the threads went in really, really far. Of course, the first thing you do is you take out the nut and bolt there, and allows that gap to increase there, and that it does let a bit of a grip off the threads, and you can then stand a better chance. But you can see the parts washer really got the diesel and kerosene into it there. It's nice and wet the whole way down. So this is the opposite threads, because you can see I'm screwing clockwise, and that's usually going in. Now, so that's an aftermarket one, and it's very notchy, and of course the grease boot is gone. It's gone hard, it's gone plastic, it's cracked, so dirt got up in there, and water then, and rust and all of that. So that's reached the end of its life. So now I can clean up this and give it a straighten. So that's going to be a usable part, and then I'll be able to fit my new track rod head down. We'll just try it for a fit. I fit quite a few of these now, and there was never any issues. So has it slip pin on it there as well. So yeah, we're going to have to tighten up that first, obviously, before we yeah, so that'll be perfect. And it has a grease nipple as well. That's why I went for these ones. Some of them don't have grease nipples. I way prefer the ones with grease nipples. When you put it in the vise and you squeeze that, show it here now, that gap, and it springs open. So when you squeeze it closed, just a little bit, this will screw in nice and snugly. So what I did was I took off that bracket. That's the bracket you loosen to allow that gap to increase, and that's the lifesaver there, because if that gap wasn't in it, these would be fairly well stuck into it. So that feels lovely, feels A1. So we're not going to have an issue there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to screw these in both ends, match them up to the original ones, fit them, and then I'll be able to do the tracking afterwards. So yeah, these will be a lovely little job. So they will. So that's going to stay in there until the time comes to fit it. This is the other track rod. So the first job is usually to get this nut and bolt out. Some of these can be fairly chewed up, so I'll not be reusing this nut and bolt. Ends are fairly rusty, but it's easy enough to get a hacksaw in and cut them if they're hard to get out. Sometimes they're so rusty that your spanner and socket will actually slip, like it did there. Yeah, it could be a little bit challenging, but it's no harm. Not going to be reusing them anyway. So give them maybe get the best edge on the spanner. Oh. Yeah, it's fairly well rounded there. Yeah, I think that's about as good as we're going to get. So I'll get the hacksaw and cut him out, and I'll match up a nice set of new nuts and bolts. Or we'll try our good friend Mr. Vice Grips. bracket as well to stop me from getting in behind it, so that's half the reason why it's slipping, but we'll get it. Fight me the whole way. Burn a fair few calories, I can tell you. Taking apart these old steering systems now. Yeah, these are usually always bent. So that has to go into the bin. I'm actually going to keep that. I'll keep the nut in there with all my other UNFs just in case it's needed again somewhere else in the tractor. But so that's this off, that's loose. The next job is going to be getting him off. We'll see how we get on with him. We're putting these track rod ends in the vise, and you have to get a fairly good grip on them because you don't want them turning in the vise because the jaws then will leave marks. So you get a good grip on them first, and then always leave a gap here. Don't ever clamp it there because it'll close that gap there, and that's the gap you want open. Because that gap is open, it relieves the pressure on this, and it makes it far easier to get out, because these can be a pig to get out. So this one is literally just, he's obliging us, so he is. So we're doing well. No sign of a broken vise this time anyway. This is an aftermarket one as well, because it's a grease for life on it. I don't know why they call it grease for life when it cracks within a few years. So I always get the ones with the grease nipple, because you can then buy the new rubber boots and you can replace them. They do crack. Otherwise, water and dirt goes into them, I'm sure. They're wearing away there, good up. There's fair long threads in this. But anyway, that's another one. So we've three now off. Threads look amazing. The metal in these tractors is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't know, I'm sure you can buy these track rods new, but they just couldn't imagine them being near the quality of these old ones. Oh, so we have another nut and bolt here to get off. See, that obliges as well. Yeah. Again, they're a little bit rounded from rust and all of that, from people replacing the track rod ends over the years. One bent as well. They usually are bent. That's actually not bent. So I'll give him a touch of the wire wheel on the drill, and we'll keep him. Oh, look at that. Isn't that a good one? By Jesus. I'm impressed by that now. Amazing. And you can see the rust that actually is on it. Like it's sure, once you loosen this and the gap opens, like it does make life a lot easier. Like, you'd never get them out otherwise, especially with that fine thread. So anyway, that's that. Very happy with that. Lovely original track rod. See how they folded the metal. Unbelievable. Serious material in them. And I find these original ones, they're really hard to bend. And how they bend was, people drove into things and the wheel was hit something and it jerked and pushed that whatever way, and it just ended up bending it. So we'll keep going on this, put these to one side then and wait for all the track rods to come in, and we'll get them set to the right length.